Hey everyone, this is Theo. Today I'm going to review the Apple iPad Pro 2018 from the perspective of an artist and illustrator. Basically, I want to answer the question, what does it feel like to draw on the new iPad Pro? Now this video is going to be a bit long because there is a lot to cover, but just to give you an overview, I'm going to talk about the design, the specifications very briefly, then we'll jump into talking about the Apple Pencil and finally do some drawing demonstration. This is the 12.9-inch iPad Pro that I have just bought, and this is the one from previous generation, the 2017 model that I have been using for more than a year. To give you the bottom line up front, the drawing experience of both tablets, they are very similar. They are very responsive, very accurate, even though this new iPad Pro is supposed to have better processor, better graphics ability. When it comes to drawing, the drawing experience is very similar. Alright, in terms of design, well, the previous model has thick bezels top and bottom, but the new one, it has shrunk down by quite a bit, so there's no more home button. I have always been using the virtual home button, so the loss of the home button and the fingerprint sensor is not really an issue to me. Fingerprint sensor has been replaced by Face ID and it works really well. So let me show you. So it's unlocked almost instantly, but one thing I do not like is you still have to swipe up in order to go into the home screen. So that's one extra step that I do not like. I just want to start working straight away once it's unlocked. Now, I've debated between getting the 12.9-inch versus the 11-inch, but based on my personal workflow, I found that I have always been using the iPad at a table, either at home or at the office, and even if I bring the iPad out for sketching with my friends, I'm always seated on a chair or I'm always on my portable stool. I will be resting the iPad like this with the bottom on my lap. So I'm always resting the iPad against something. That's because the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, this is a bit heavier compared to the 11-inch. This is 633 grams. The 11-inch model is significantly lighter, like 468 grams. So that is like about 160 grams lighter. If you want to hold this with one hand and draw, I mean, speaking from personal experience, I will not be able to do this for more than 5 minutes because my thumb here is going to get very tired. And when you're drawing like this, you're also pressing down, so it puts more pressure on your hand and puts more pressure on your thumb that is supposed to grip this. So for a 12.9-inch screen, I never use it to draw like this. For 11-inch, I think it's still possible, but bear in mind that if you add things like the cover, the case, or if you have those hand grips, that's going to add on to the weight. And this is 600 over grams, and you add all those things up, maybe 800 grams, it's going to get even heavier. So if you are thinking of getting a very portable digital sketch pad, I would actually recommend you get the 11-inch version, which is more portable and lighter and smaller. Smaller, but you still have a very good surface area to work on. Let me show you some of the resolution comparison. Let me just turn this to the side here. I have locked rotation. All right. Okay, so this is this area here. This is the 12.9-inch working area. This here, you see this wider rectangle here, the white color rectangle. The gray one is the 10.5-inch iPad Pro. The white one here is the 11-inch iPad Pro. So this is still a pretty large surface to work on. And this is the 10.5-inch and this is the 9.7-inch. Now if you compare that to an A5 sketchbook, this is close to A5. Let me just put this down. The 11-inch model is slightly larger than this sketchbook that I have. And I have another sketch pad. So again, the 11-inch model, it's wider than this writing pad, which is great because if you can work with this size, you can definitely work very comfortably with either the 10.5 inch or the 11 inch. So these are the size difference, and notice the aspect ratio is also a bit different. The 11 inch model is slightly wider compared to the 10.5 inch. The 10.5 inch and the 12.9 inch, they both use the 4:3 aspect ratio, but 11 inch it's a bit wider. So if you're someone who likes to watch a lot of videos, then those are wide format videos, they are going to look a bit better on the 11 inch. But how big is the new 12.9 inch really? Well, let's compare that to an A4 writing pad. This is 8.5 inches by 11 inches. So I'm going to put this aligned to the top of this 2017 model. You can see that this tablet comes out by quite a bit. And now if we put this on top of the new iPad Pro, this is almost the same size as this writing pad, which is 8.5 by 11 inches. In fact, let me just put this iPad on top of the writing pad. You can see it's almost exactly the same size. So the drawing experience will be very similar to that of drawing on an A4 sketchbook or A4 sheet of paper. It may look like the new screen is more vibrant, but that's because I have a matte screen protector on this 2017 model. And this matte screen protector really provides that extra tactile feeling when you're drawing with the Apple Pencil. This new screen, it's still glossy, it's still reflective, and if you're using Apple Pencil on the screen, it's going to be quite slippery. So if you want that additional control, if you want the paper-like feel, I do recommend you get a matte screen protector. But putting the screen protector on, it's going to affect the color slightly, so it's not going to be as vibrant, and not just that, it's going to affect the sharpness slightly. On the left side, that's the one without the screen protector. And on the right side, that's the one with the matte screen protector. The matte screen protector does two things. One is to give you the paper-like texture when you're drawing. The other is to prevent fingerprint smudges. After I've used this for an hour or so, I have a lot of fingerprint smudges on the screen, and they actually affect some of the finger gestures that I do. For example, with Procreate, when I use the 3-finger swipe to clear the layer, my success rate on this iPad without the screen protector is lower compared to this one. It's so much nicer to swipe on the matte screen versus the glass screen. And when you have a lot of fingerprint smudges, it affects swiping and some finger gestures. Also, when you're writing and drawing with the Apple Pencil, it feels so much better. And this is how it sounds like without the screen protector. The sound of silence. The screen is very bright, so if you want to use this outdoors and there is strong sunlight, no problem at all. You just turn up the brightness to maximum brightness, and the contrast, the color, vibrancy, it's still going to look very good. But of course, at maximum brightness, the battery life is going to take a hit. But battery life on iPad Pros have always been excellent, so no problems there. The new Apple Pencil is sold separately as usual, and it costs more at US $130 versus the US $100 for the previous Apple Pencil. There are some slight design changes. First of all, the side here, this is flat. This flat surface here, this allows the new Apple Pencil to snap to the side of the new iPad Pro. The Apple Pencil will snap strongly to the side of the iPad Pro using magnets, and it will tell you how much battery life is left in the Apple Pencil. And when it's snapped to the side here like this, it's actually charging the pencil wirelessly. So that's pretty cool compared to the previous charging method, which is basically poking this port right at the bottom. And the magnet on the side here, it's really strong. One thing to take note of this pencil is if you are going to get a case, you have to get a case that lets you snap the pencil to the side of the iPad. And it only snaps to this side, but not this side. There is actually this thing here. See this? You have to snap the pencil right in the middle. If you don't snap it at the right position, it's going to look like this. So snap it like this, and it will be very tight. The Apple Pencil is slightly shorter compared to the previous pencil. In terms of weight and feel, they both feel very balanced. I know I'm using them like chopsticks right now. Anyway, the previous pencil has a glossy body. The new pencil has a matte surface finishing. Really depends on whether you like matte or glossy. I prefer matte surface. The tip is also slightly different. The previous tip has a slight gloss to it. The new tip, it's matte surface. Even with the matte surface tip, it still feels quite slippery when writing or drawing on the glass screen. And one thing I like about the flat surface is you can put the pencil like this and it won't roll around like the previous generation. One cool thing about the new Apple Pencil is when the tablet is sleeping, you can tap on the screen to open up Apple Notes instantly and take a quick note. Before I show you that, I want to show you the fingerprint smudges on my screen. So there are a lot of fingerprint smudges. It's not that easy to clean off the smudges even with a microfiber cloth. So that's why I prefer to use a matte screen protector. Alright, so I tapped and it goes into Apple Notes straight away. And this is where I want to show you another feature of the Apple Pencil. Apple Pencil now supports some shortcuts, so you can single click or double click on the flat side of the Apple Pencil to call up those shortcuts. So with Apple Notes, you can double click to switch between the eraser and the pen. For single click, there is nothing. And you have to tap around this area. If you tap too far up here, it's not going to work. Whether or not the shortcuts will work will depend on the app that you use. Not all apps have those shortcuts. Alright, let's do some drawing demo. So this is Procreate. Pressure sensitivity works really well. The feeling of drawing on a glass screen, well, it feels exactly like that. I mean, you know that feeling. So with Procreate, it's really responsive. The lines come out almost instantly. Apple Pencil supports tilt sensitivity, so you can tilt the pencil at an angle to get thicker lines like this. And you can use this for shading. And the tilt sensitivity also reacts to pressure as well. Got to say that it works really well. This stylus is very sensitive. I can just barely glance on the screen and the lines will appear. You may not see any lines, but let me assure you that they are actually there. It's very sensitive. Of course, if you press down hard, then you can get those thick lines. So if you're someone who likes to do a lot of cross-hatching, you can really add layers by layers. Of course, that would depend on the brush that you use. So when you're doing quick sketches like this, it really feels like you're drawing. And because there is no gap between the screen, the LCD screen, and the glass surface, it really feels like you're drawing on the surface of the glass. And as mentioned earlier, the Apple Pencil, it's very accurate. When you're tapping on the surface, you can get dots as well. I'm not sure if my camera can capture accurately, but pay attention to the gap between the stroke and the pen tip. There is almost no gap at all. With Procreate, they allow you to do some customization for the Apple Pencil shortcuts. So for example, the default shortcut for clearing the layer is 3-finger swipe. But here you have the option to turn on the Apple Pencil double tap. So now you can double tap on the Apple Pencil to clear the layer. But from what I can see, there's no option for you to customize the Apple Pencil single tap. They only have the double tap option. So having those shortcuts can really be quite convenient. Next app that I want to show you is Paper by FiftyThree. So this app supports tilt sensitivity as well. And there is pressure sensitivity, of course. So for the thick strokes here, I basically just put my pencil down to get those strokes, and it works really well here. Alright, let's jump into doing some cartooning with Medibang Paint Pro. I've just created a new canvas on Medibang Paint Pro. Pressure sensitivity works really well. The zooming in and out, the finger gestures, it's very smooth, very fluid. The double tap undo is something that you have to turn on in the settings. By the way, pressure sensitivity on Medibang Pro, it doesn't work by default. You actually have to turn it on in the settings. So for Medibang Paint Pro, there is no shortcuts as well. So you cannot go into eraser. You have to actually manually switch into eraser mode. But the drawing experience, it's really fluid. I don't like the angle of this line, so let me just undo that. I think this looks a bit better. Some tablets, when you use the stylus to draw diagonal lines slowly, it can produce some jitter, but thankfully with the Apple Pencil, that's not the case here. So I can draw very slowly and the line will still be smooth. So this is fantastic performance. Now, if you are using the 11-inch model, it's going to be slightly smaller. I saw the model at the Apple Store. It's about 2 fingers smaller, about 1 inch smaller on this side and 1 inch shorter on this side. So it's still plenty of space to work with. I'm going to use the paint bucket and just click here, and yeah. So the paint bucket works really fast. And I'm going to switch to the brush to color this part. So being able to use the finger gestures like this, it's very intuitive. I mean, drawing on a screen like this, it is very intuitive. So that's the difference, the main difference between drawing on a screen versus you using those graphic tablets, like those Wacom Intuos tablets without any screens. So I'm able to work really quickly with this. So for the hair color, maybe let's do a red. Nah, not red. Let's do maybe a dark brown or something. And use the paint bucket and see how it looks like. All right, I think it looks fine. So the lines really very smooth, very fluid. The overall experience of drawing on the iPad, I've got to say that it's better compared to drawing on Android tablets. For example, with the Samsung Tab S4 and the S Pen, they work well, but Apple Pencil and the iPad, I feel that it's slightly better. And also, there are a lot of fantastic drawing apps on the iPad. That I think really wins me over. But of course, other things about the Apple ecosystem, I don't like that much. Like, for example, you have to pay a lot for the extra storage. This model that I bought, this is the model with the 256 gigs of storage, and well, it's quite pricey. It's an extra $200 US, if I'm not wrong. If you're just getting a tablet just for drawing purposes, 64 gigs is actually sufficient enough. It's actually sufficient. So you don't have to buy 256 gigs. I would actually recommend you get the 64 gigs model and then get the iCloud, pay for the iCloud, because iCloud, to get an extra 50 gigs iCloud is just $1 US per month. If you want to get 200 gigs on iCloud, that's $3 US per month. So at the end of 2 years, 3 times 24 months, I mean, it's still going to save you more money compared to buying a 256 gigs iPad Pro model like this. So that's just my recommendation. If you do need to use a lot of storage, like active storage, you need to import a lot of photographs and you need to work on those photographs, then obviously you will need more storage capacity. But if you're just doing digital art like this, this is This is just 2D art. It's not going to take up a lot of space. Next, I want to show you the performance of the previous generation iPad Pro so that you have something to compare with. Oh, by the way, the new Apple Pencil, it only works with the 2018 iPad Pros. It doesn't work with previous generations. And the original Apple Pencil, it doesn't work with the new iPad Pro. In short, they are not interchangeable. So Apple wants you to buy new Apple Pencils, new keyboards, new everything. So for this, I have to use the original Apple Pencil. I'm going to draw the curvy stroke again. Pay attention to the gap between the stroke and the pen tip. So there is a little gap between the stroke and the pen tip. Let me do that again. All right. Let me switch over to the new iPad Pro. I'm also using the same app. This is Medibang Paint Pro. So there's still that gap between the stroke and the pen tip. Let's test Procreate for the gap as well. So this is the new iPad Pro. Notice that the gap between the line and the pen tip is very small, significantly smaller compared to that on Medibang Paint Pro. Same performance as well. So the performance really depends on the app you use. And now I want to talk about the pricing. Now, the new iPad Pros unfortunately are significantly more expensive compared to the previous generation. The 11-inch is $800 and the 12.9-inch is $1,000. That's before you add additional storage capacity. That's before you add the price of the new Apple Pencil, which is $130. It's very pricey, and if you are an artist, an illustrator looking to get a digital sketch pad, between the two, the drawing experience, when it comes to drawing, the performance is very similar, and because of that, I would actually recommend you go with the previous model, because for $200 less, you can get the 12.9-inch. That's if you want to get the larger size. But if you want to get the smaller size, the 11-inch or the 10.5-inch, you are also going to save more money just by going with the previous model, the model from 2017. So you may be wondering, if you get the 2017 model, it's already 1 year old. When the apps get updated in the future, or iOS gets updated in the future, wouldn't the performance of this tablet be less than optimal? Well, the thing is, the 2017 model is already a very powerful tablet, so it's definitely going to last you many years. Same with this, but the price difference, it's quite significant. And personally, I'm a frugal person, so I would go with the cheaper option, especially when it comes to drawing. There is really no difference. If you have already decided to get the new iPad Pro, you've waited for a long time for this upgrade, just go get it. You don't need anyone's validation, and only you know whether or not it's worth the money for the type of work that you do. So that's all for my review. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. If you want me to test out some things on the new iPad Pro, only art related stuff by the way, let me know in the comment section below. I will try and see if I can test those things out for you. Thanks for watching. I hope this video is helpful. See you in the next one. Bye.